What's up, fellas? We're back out here at White Sands Proving Grounds, and we've got this control box set up. This control box will be mounted to the tar truck. We are currently in the on position. The temperature is registering 60 degrees on the process value, and the set value is at 88 degrees. We're using 2 containers of water to simulate the temperature differences. I'm using this laboratory grade power supply to simulate the battery. So we're just going to go through the cycles here, and we are proofing the system to see if it works. So I'm going to take that thermocouple, put it in the hot water. The temperature will be reached to where it'll shut everything off. We're then going to turn some gas on. Then I'm going to take the thermocouple and put it in the cold water, and we should see a fireball. Oh shit, it's on. I'm going to set the flame. Okay, we're off. The process value has exceeded the set value. We're at about 118 degrees there. We're now going to simulate a cool-off scenario where we have dropped below the set value. We're at 108 as the process value, and the set value is 88. We're at 90 degrees, 89. And we're off. We're at 91. So, it seems to be working perfectly. I was worried that this inverter wasn't going to work right with the PID controller, because I don't know that it's a, what do they call the inverters that put off a frequency that, yeah, okay, we're at 114 degrees for the process value. The set value is 88 degrees. So, into the cold water we go. Simulating the tar has now cooled off. The temperature is dropping rapidly. We're at 96 degrees, and okay, seems to be working. I have the PID configured to an on-off cycle. It's not set to PID, which is the proportional integral derivative. Basically, that means the past tells the future what to do. I got a spider living in my burner here. Get out of here, man. Okay. So, do it again here. I'm kind of beating the dog to death here. I am missing some hardware, but we're going to go with this. And right there. Wrap. I think we're in there, man. As I said, I am missing some hardware. It showed up late. I got one of those late messages. I'm going to put a switch on this thing so that when you first power up, the burner doesn't just go off. The switch will disconnect the spark and the normally closed solenoid from the circuit. And that's just going to be a little button, actually. It's going to be what's called a latching button. This is the power box. It's pretty compact. I'll show you kind of up close what we got here. This is our hot water reservoir, and this is our cold reservoir. And you can kind of see when that hits the set value, it will trigger that solid state relay in the bottom there, which hopefully isn't getting Now I'm hoping that that solid state relay doesn't get too hot on me. Typically they're run with a heat sink. It looked like we were only running like an amp or two of power. Check that out here in a second. It'll tell us what the amperage is. And any second now. All right, guys, I got to get these thermoses put away before my wife catches me. I'm not allowed to use stuff out of the kitchen for my experiments. But they're just so handy for this, right? No one will ever know. I won't tell anybody except for the 45,000 people who see this video. So there it is. I'm going to be putting a latching button, which is an on-off latching button, which means you push it, it turns it off. You push it again, and it turns it on. I probably should have an indicator light on there, but it's not like you're gonna die if it kicks on. I just don't want the customer to connect it to the battery and this freaking thing cycle on, and that's exactly what's gonna happen if we don't have the button in place. So I'm not gonna bore you to death with this. This is pretty much the unit. We've got the transformer, the inverter, the solid state relay, a bus bar, and the PID controller. And this particular PID controller is an AB1. I'll get you the rest of that. And to set this particular one on-off mode, you need to set P00 to 1, P67 to 2, and P70 to 1. And that removes the PID constituent and just makes it an on-off switch. We don't need all that complicated behavior for this particular setup. We're not growing embryos in a dish here. This is kind of the circuit relay layout. This is for my own future reference. If something goes wrong with the box, I can tell the customer what to do. Okay, so here's the name of that company, CGLE PID. I do not recommend this for the novice. You're probably better off going with an Inkbird if it's your first time using one of these things. These instructions are exceedingly complicated to understand. And they're not always written properly. For example, see where it says, please refer to C3 PID control mode selection. Well, that's not even a real thing. There is no C. If anything, it would be this here. Okay, everything else is labeled D1, which would indicate that this here is C7, but you don't see the C on there. And the O3 is the thermocouple setting. So this thing can really tear you in half. It'll scare the hell out of you if you've never done it before and you've got an important project going on. But this right here gives you the on-off control. We're going to set P67 to 2. Yeah, P67 set to 2. So we're good there. We're doing well. This is what the PID control does. It'll kind of like, it does a lot of weird stuff with the on-off. I'm not going to sit here and bore you guys to death. This is not that kind of video. I'm not doing a PID control video. But if you do buy this particular unit, a lot of people just want the thing to cycle on and off. And if you want to convert it from heat mode to cool mode, you would go to P42 and convert it to 0 or 1, depending on what you want. We have it in heating mode, which means that the solid state relay is turned on when your temperature is below the process value. So it turns the heat on. Now, when you have it in cool mode, if you're trying to cool something with one of these, the process value is off when it's below the set value. So that when it warms up past the set value, then the compressor kicks on and cools it back down. So that's the difference between heat mode and cool mode. I believe this is one of the cheaper units. Yeah, $25, which, you know, I want to explain something to you. You see some of these are like, is this the Inkbird here? This one here is $40. And this is an Inkbird. Now, I decided not to do this because I'm trying to help the customer out and make money at the same time here. But what can happen is you can lose 2-3 hours trying to decipher these hieroglyphics to get this thing to work. I'm pretty familiar with this stuff. It's very, very difficult to jump into this type of instruction set and make any sense of it. You sometimes got to sit here and study this thing for 2 hours before your brain grows the neurons capable of interpreting what in the heck is going on. And that's you got to watch out trying to save money, because you end up losing so much time that you just walk backwards. So that's my advice to you, is saving money is not always a good option unless you've got a lot of free man hours available. So there it is. We're shutting this thing down. I'm going to be getting that button put on there, and then we'll be shipping this thing off to Sealer King LLC. I honestly have to admit, the coolest thing about this thing working first time around is I get to go to sleep. I wanted to try out this soldering iron that was sent to me by a company for review. This is an old invention of mine. I invented this about 25 years ago, and that happens a lot with me. I didn't have the money to build any of this stuff back then or patent anything, and it's kind of cool to see it. Someone finally did it. It's basically a trigger powered unit, and we're going to give it a shot today, see how well it works, because I've always wanted one of these. So seems like it's heating up pretty quick. It might have an aim issue here. Let's see how it goes. So I'm building this power supply for the propane burner we seen the other day. This is going on a tar truck. Oh man, dude, that is pretty awesome. I love it. Right on. So there's $1 million I lost out on. Would you believe I've got about 750 different files on my computer that are over 20 years old, and they all contain ideas like this? Kind of sucks. So yeah, that's awesome, dude. Definitely digging that. I'll try and leave a link in the description for this thing, the Amazon link, because definitely pretty awesome. It's got a switch on it too, which I do like, because if you leave this tip hot and it's just sitting there, eventually it'll burn up on you pretty quick. All right, let's give this thing another try here. I'm digging this thing, dude. One of the easiest soldering irons I've ever used. I do love it. Not too bad. It's got a lot of power too. I don't know how many watts it is. I don't think it says. You probably can't see me cranking the reel on that. Not too shabby. Those are some pretty heavy connectors too. Oh, it's 60 watts. As far as soldering iron goes, 60 watts is pretty powerful. I know that sounds stupid, but I mean, most soldering irons that you buy are like 25 watt soldering irons.